Hey guys, and welcome back to another Lost Bits video right here on TetraBitGaming, the series where we explore video game content that goes unused, altered, or normally unseen. Leading up to the release of Animal Crossing New Horizons, I tested the Animal Crossing waters myself on the channel here, and many of you seem to enjoy it, so back to the village we go with the next game in the series, Animal Crossing Wild World for the Nintendo DS. This game improved on many things from the original and introduced many features that would become series mainstays. And oh yeah, this game introduced some online features as well. Yep, that was a thing. So without further ado, it's time to find some Animal Crossing Wild World Lost Bits. Alright, so starting things off, there's actually a test animation that can be found amongst the files for the Animal Villager models. Listed as TA_test, this animation will quickly cycle through all of the facial emotion textures as seen here on Filbert. What a name. As the test part of the file name suggests, it's quite apparent this was just used to test how the facial graphics would appear on the model. Unused text string fans gather round, as this game has a few of those as well. Only 3 to be exact, and these are as basic as test strings go. First is just one of the developers doing this. Yep, this is just the numbers 1 to 0 as seen on the top of the keyboard twice. Crazy, right? Then next is this test message that literally just reads test message. And finally is a string that reads Animal Crossing DS, which was actually the working title this game had when it was first announced at E3 of 2004. So I guess this was some sort of placeholder test string for the game's title. Wow, these are some really deep and thought-provoking unused text strings, I gotta say. And moving along, next up we got several unused graphics and items. So first let's tackle the unused items. First is a Beehive item that can't normally be obtained. Though beehives have been around since the first Animal Crossing, they weren't obtainable items all the way up until New Leaf. So it looks like maybe they were toying with the idea of making it so when developing this game, but either way, ultimately the Beehive never saw the light of day as an obtainable item in Wild World. Next, while the clovers can be seen as a type of weed in the game, there's this unused version of the 4-leaf clover that is labeled as a special item that was apparently supposed to be worn by the player. Instead, in the final game, if you do get a clover, all you can do with it is throw it down, and it just turns into a book instead. Huh. Just like the Beehive, the ability to wear the 4-leaf clovers was later added in Animal Crossing New Leaf for the 3DS. New Leaf. Adding 4-leaf clover features? Coincidence? Probably. Next up are some unused items, and I say unused in quotations because although these items are seen in the game, particularly in Tom Nook's shop, there's data left over that suggests that they could have been inventory items as well. So we got this sold out sign, as well as these paint cans in a wide range of colors. The latter of these are sold at Nookington's for 980 bells, but they do get applied straight to your roof, bypassing ever needing to be in your inventory at all. Despite this though, the official player's guide for the game lists the paint cans as a gadget and more, alongside the items like the Pitfall Seed and Party Popper. This suggests that maybe having them as inventory items was scrapped closer to the game's release. Then, in similar fashion, cardboard boxes, which can only be seen when a villager moves in or out, have data left over for them also being an item that would come in sets of 2, 4, or 5. Then there are catalog versions of the exotic wall and exotic rug items listed in the game as Big Rug 1 and Big Rug 2 respectively. And then lastly are 2 invisible chair items. Not sure why these are left over. It has also been documented that these floor and wallpaper tile sets are unused, meant for Nook's Cranny, Nook and Go, Nookway, and the second floor of Nookington's. But to me it seems like these are identical to the ones that do go used in the game, so I can only assume that perhaps these are duplicate copies that go unused. And finally, probably the most infamous unused items are the Hackable Seeds. These seeds were originally used as a beta tool when developing the game to test placement of in-game objects such as buildings, trees, flowers, whatever. Now these are still technically used in the game as they are used internally when the game creates a new town layout at the start of a playthrough, but that said, we're talking about them as an item, and in that sense they are normally unobtainable. Well, normally unobtainable, but absolutely obtainable if you have a cheating device like an action replay. By hacking this item in, a player can essentially place whatever they want, wherever they want, new buildings, structures, and even more villagers if they want. To show you guys an example, here I'm gonna plant a few Nookington seeds. Yeah, right, there looks good, and there, perfect. Now let's enter this building, come back out, and bam, the Nookington seeds have sprouted real quick. I'm sorry, what? Still not enough Nookingtons? Yeah, I agree. Let's get some more. There we go, perfect. Tom Nook's Utopia is here. Anyways, for those that did play this game online back in the day, you might remember how bad these seeds could get. Essentially, a Nintendo DS can only handle so much, so if you overload it with too many objects, bad stuff will happen. And this was a big problem with some of the online play with this game. Some dubious players would place what's called brick seeds, with the intention of essentially soft locking a stranger's game, for example, by blocking off key locations with a big building that isn't supposed to be there, or adding more villager characters than the game can handle. Things could get so overloaded that the game would crash almost instantly when booting it up, and there was little, if not zero, ways to fix this in many cases, so the game essentially just became useless. And if that wasn't bad enough, worse yet, apparently there were even cases where the player getting brick seeded would have their entire DS corrupted or disabled permanently. I honestly can't and don't know if I want to imagine the pain some of those players probably felt. I think we need a moment of silence for all the fallen copies of Wild World and bricked DSs. So yeah, items that can be very useful if used correctly, but can also result in severe consequences. I guess with great power comes great responsibility, and it's no surprise why these seeds never made it normally into the final game. Now with the unused item stuff out of the way, time to move on to some more general unused graphics. Basically, all of these come in the form of placeholder graphics, possibly the most placeholder graphics I've ever come across in a Lost Bits video. First are these placeholder mockups of text boxes for talking to a villager, general dialogue, as well as the text box with several options to choose from. Then we got these placeholder graphics for wall and floor textures. These were probably templates the developers used when creating these graphics. There's also this text graphic, very cool. Next we have several tile sets featuring numbers, lots of numbers. These tile sets also differ with the graphics seen at the top, changing from some Japanese text to some circle things and more numbers. Then there's this placeholder tile set for the bulletin board, as well as several basic placeholder icons for inventory item graphics for ITM 00 to 30. And similarly, there are fish placeholder graphics as well. Next, there's this template placeholder for the main inventory menu with a rather creepy looking villager. There's also some placeholder Japanese text found here in the top left of this graphic. Apparently the top translates to Ninten Village and the bottom to Matsushima. The Matsushima here is very likely a signature of Yoshihiro Matsushima, the game's user interface designer. There's this placeholder tile set for the Bell Bank interface. The Japanese text here translates to take money, transfer money, remaining, and bell. Then there are placeholder graphics for the town tune. These translate to mute everything, as well as so, la, ti, do, re, the verbal music scale word things. I guess me and Fa were allowed to take the day off. Then there are these three placeholder messages, this text here related to the timer item, as well as this leftover graphic, all of which I haven't been able to find translations for. So if you're able to read Japanese, I'd be very interested to learn what these translate to, so let me know down in the comments. Then there's this placeholder message found in the friend code registration tile set, which translates to register, go figure. Then there's this placeholder banner for the village's name with village name written on it. And lastly, there's this tile set with the placeholder Japanese text on the upper right translating to copy and paste. This text is used here in the final game, just with an updated font type. Man, that was a lot of placeholder graphics. That's probably the most I've ever said the word placeholder in such a short amount of time. I need someone to count those up. Placeholder. And last up, we got one debug function that can be accessed in this game. This comes in the form of a crash debugger. Basically, after the game crashes, if you hold L, R, A, and left, and then hold down and B, and then hold start and select, a full crash report will pop up. It will include the build date of the current version of the game you are playing at the top here, as well as hexadecimal values that I can't even pretend to understand what they mean. Unfortunately, I think this is nowhere near as robust or frankly interesting as what we saw in the GameCube original, but hey, debug stuff is debug stuff, so I'll take it. Anyways guys, that will wrap up this Wild World video, and I hope you enjoyed it. Unfortunately, far less unused content than we saw in the GameCube predecessor, but I'm looking forward to see what the rest of the games in the series have to offer down the road. Anyways, if you enjoyed this video, be sure to drop a like down below and check out some more of my Lost Bits videos, like the one I made on the original Animal Crossing on the GameCube by clicking on the card right here. Be sure to subscribe here for future videos, swing by my other social media things, which are all linked down in the description below, and if you want to support the channel, check out my merch over at TetraBitGaming.com, or consider becoming the latest member of the Bit Club to get some nifty extra channel perks. Click on the join button below for more information. Anyways guys, thanks for tuning in, and I will see you in a bit.